Okay, so let's get started now that it is 10:04 in the West Coast. Okay, so we have session number 6. It's been like 6 weeks that we started doing these ones with like Coffee and COVID IMAGINEi5 in partnership with COVID Accelerator. So thank you so much for joining us today. So as you know, we are IMAGINEi5. Okay, so for today we have the project updates from 3 of our project teams. Then we're going to be doing a talk about MVP. And then we're going to be breaking out into 3 groups, like 2 about MVPs, and then 1 will be on the topic of Balsamiq. Okay, so for today, we are going to be hearing from Nora and Riya from Frontline Mental Health. Then we're going to be hearing from Jamie Bunyassi. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, and Ivan from GENOAI, and then from Miguel on emotional intelligence camp for children 5 to 7. So Nora or Riya, I think I saw Riya. So to make sure, we're going to be talking about identifying the problem, describing the solution, and then sharing with us what you need. So what is your ask? And then we're going to be talking about team number 2 and team number 3 in the MVPs. So for those teams, what is the MVP hypothesis for today? So that you want to test and get feedback on today. And then which customers do you need in your MVP test room? So we're going to have a smaller groups. So yeah, what kind of customers are you looking for? Okay.
So Nora, myself, and our friend Anvita, we're working on a project called Frontline Mental Health under COVID Accelerator. And basically the background is that we want to provide mental health resources and support to healthcare workers on the front line during the COVID pandemic. And we want to support people's mental health journey, their trauma, engage in self-care, and we want people to be seen and heard. So the method of our use is we want to develop a website and turn it into a mobile app for iOS and Android with icons. And we have different phases of development. So to break it down, phase 1, we would have a testimonial story sharing platform. And another icon could be a question and answer portal. We'd have resources to prevent and treat PTSD with CBT and DBT exercises and articles, common signs to watch for that are indicators of these disorders, and then self-care hacks. So our ask is that we need developers for the website and the app. So that would be like the coders, the programmers, UX design, figure out how the submissions will work on the front end and back end, and the feedback loop. And we have questions on the anonymous profiles to keep their privacy, how to create a safe community. You know, obviously a lot of them might not want to be giving their personal information just because of the nature of the information, as well as, you know, these are full-time workers. So the other thing we'd want to get help with is to ask for mental health professionals to get their feedback, therapists, psychiatrists, basically licensed professionals who can give feedback on questions and guidance on mental health support. And then Nora, do you want to kind of go down into the phase 1 breakdown?
Yeah, so just to kind of break it down a little bit more. So what we're thinking, we have at least 5 different, I guess, tabs or whatever on a mobile app. And the first one being the testimonial or story sharing. A lot of people connect based upon hearing someone else's story. That goes with anything in life, not just this, you know, crisis right now. Like, I know a lot of people are suffering from anxiety and mental health, and like even I've opened up to a lot of my coworkers, and that's helped like bridge a connection between myself and other people to help us understand one another. The same thing can be said if you put it on a website or an app for nurses and doctors, health professionals to just connect, because we have seen a rise in nurses and doctors, you know, going through difficult times right now. This is not a normal time for them. They're not equipped to deal with a lot of like this trauma, right? Like this is, they're meant to save lives, and the amount of people around them that are they can't save is very traumatizing for them. So having a place for them to share their story and for having others to kind of like relate and connect with them would, I think, help them. And then the next one would be the question answer portal, which would be mainly we would bring in mental health professionals, like actually like taught to deal with certain things. Did you get rid of it, Riya? Oh, there. Okay. I was like, where'd it go? My talking points. So just kind of like a set of questions that a therapist or a psychiatrist could answer on a professional level. So that would be the question answer portal. Then the resources would just be like a resource guide to help prevent PTSD or even other illnesses that mental health or frontline health professionals are dealing with right now. And then how like exercises or even articles on how to like help deal with things like that. And then just having a database for these various mental illness resources. And then the next one would be common signs to watch out for. So even if you yourself as a mental health professional, if you're not, you can see those signs in other people, you can kind of reach out to kind of help them, right? So like a lot of the times we're all caught up in our own world, not being able to focus on anyone else. But if you know the signs to look for, you can help them before it's too late. And then the last one would be just like self-care hacks, just like a fun little, like, here, this is what I do is like my morning routine just to get me, ready for the day or something like that, just to help reduce mental illness issues. So that's kind of our baseline right now. We just need help formulating how we're going to get that onto a website and a mobile app.
So currently your ask is finding people that can help you put all of this into a mobile app. So like prototypers, and then
Yes.
anyone that can do like wireframing and website development.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then as well as with licensed mental health professionals that we could potentially speak to and get some guidance and feedback.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so if you have any questions for this team, you please chat them up. We can take them from there if you don't have them at this point.
Do you want us to share our information in the chat window? Would that be helpful?
That'll be super helpful. Thank you so much, Nora. I think
Yeah,
that'll be.
I'll share my LinkedIn.
Geno is basically a project where we're trying to map phenotypes as SNPs responsible for causing them. We believe this would be very valuable in stopping viruses before they start. And we looked at the problem in a way that it was first posed by COVID Accelerator, where they asked, can we build faster than the virus? And this is our solution. We believe, hey, we should stop viruses even before they start. And if we had enough genetic understanding as to how some of these viruses are formed and how they interact with our bodies, we believe human beings could pretty much make very, very good models of how to treat some of these diseases. Some of the implementations that are being done to sort of further this vision are sort of a phenome-wide, genetic-wide association studies, whereby people use genetic analysis to validate the integration of association results across biobanks. And we looked at the process that goes on, whereby the first thing is genotyping or imputation, and then the next step is curating those phenotypes. And we realized some of the problems were that biobanks may have different genotyping and or phenotyping strategies. So we figured with Geno, we could practically make sort of like a unified genetic study effort that was powered by artificial intelligence. And right now, imputations are being run by imputation servers such as the Michigan imputation server, which can take up to 2 weeks to run imputations. But we found an artificial intelligence algorithm that can do it in as fast as 10 minutes. So we believe that this could really be helpful. And our progress towards this effort is we've been able to build a high fidelity MVP where study participants are able to upload study data in Flink format, and study participants are also able to view data uploaded by other participants. And we're working on our version 2 where we hope to integrate the ML pipeline to run the server-side imputations as they're uploaded. As of now, they're being run offline. And we also have a bit curiosity as to how to treat the genetic data, just because genetic information is quite sensitive. Future applications beyond COVID, we believe that a genotype-phenotype map can be used to develop gene therapies to treat complex diseases such as cancer. And we also are aware of the risks that some of these gene therapies pose. And as of now, they're only used to treat diseases which have no cures. But we ask the question, can precise SNP identification minimize this risk, i.e. using a tool like GENOAI? We also ask how gene therapies are carried out, and it can be summarized into a two-step process where step 1 is finding out the underlying causative gene, and we believe GENO would be imperative to this, and step 2, which is a means of efficiently delivering working copies of the gene to these cells. And of these 2 steps, the most difficult step is actually the second step, and people have been trying to solve this gene delivery problem using harmless viruses such as vectors and stem cells. So we will be asking for people interested in those areas just so we can work with the end in mind and just sort of like see where we're going with this idea. A sort of case, a use case of a situation where we could use gene therapy is with a boy, for example, with hemophilia, which makes his liver unable to make blood-clotting factor 8. And we could use gene therapy to sort of introduce a working copy of that gene, and you know, the cells could then produce adequate levels of factor 8. While the little boy himself would be cured, the altered genes would remain unchanged and would be passed on to his children. However, you know, there is some ethical issue as to whether we should stop the if we're aware of this particular condition in this gene, should we stop it before it starts in his children? But I think that's an ethical issue for further discussion. I think for our timeline, this is how we're looking. Hopefully from today's feedback, we can integrate our feedback into a version 0.2 release. We hope to launch officially with version 1. So probably do a few releases before that, and perhaps keep this feedback loop so that we can build the best tool possible. So our ask is we need project leaders, community builders, just because we hope to see this project take a life of its own, and we believe that in order to do so, we need experienced hands on deck to help make it a reality. And also, our second ask is community, because we really love what you guys have done with COVID Accelerator and just bringing people, like-minded, smart people together. And you know, if we could do the same thing for Geno, I believe we can make the vision a reality. You know, hopefully the goals for the next meeting would be to gather feedback for our version 0.2 release. Hopefully by then we would have built some sort of community around the project, and also recruited a few project leaders. This is Geno. I don't know what release this would be, probably 0.1, I guess, but it gets the most basic job done. People are able to submit study data, put in their study names and all. find out what analysis they are interested in being a part of or perhaps investigating. Right now, we're working with analysis that have been provided by the Host Genetics Initiative. So they basically formed a global biobank network, and we've been sort of using the investigation to guide our building this minimum viable product. And we'll include a link in the oh, thank you, in the chat for anyone who's interested in doing. Thank you.
So there is a question on the chat. So for clarification, do you mean to map and analyze viral DNA, human DNA, or something else?
No, so mainly what we're looking at with right now, the main analysis is going to be sort of phenotypical analysis. But forgive me if I'm wrong, because I'm no expert. I'm just I'm really more of a computer scientist. So I'm sure biologists might have like an actual better way of explaining some of these things than I would. But really what we're looking at is, for example, a phenotype would be mortality of COVID-19, right? Or susceptibility of COVID-19. And then you'd have different cases and controls, and upload different data for a different case or a different control, and then maybe use those bases, those to sort of base your knowledge of what the phenotype is. So yeah, I don't know if I answered that right, but I'm open to other questions.
May I follow up? I think I understand. I just want to confirm that what you're suggesting is that you want to use the phenotypical information such as symptoms or mortality and link it in your analysis with DNA, with the DNA sequencing. Is that correct? So like find people who are dying and get their genome, and then use machine learning to analyze the links, like the commonalities amongst them. Is that what you're proposing?
Yes, that is what I'm proposing.
So my name is Miguel. I have a bachelor's in computer science and a PhD in economics. I've become really passionate about early childhood education, software development, and social impact. And my motivation is a better world for tiny children. So the problem and opportunity that we saw is that now and probably over the summer, parents are working from home and feeling overwhelmed, and children are stranded at home with the lockdown. And in general, children don't learn about emotions and how to express their needs. So what we want to do is the 2020 Children's Emotion Athletics. I can't use Olympiad, says my lawyer. It's a series of 35 short 3-minute videos like Sesame Street for 3 to 7-year-olds, and offline activities because parents, we are still considering it an educational app to learn about emotions, but it's mainly going to be activities for them to do and to use their bodies. The main benefit is that every child can be an emotional athlete, and then later on in the years afterwards, we will run it again and improve on it. I'm going to show the funny part of the video, which is that it So I've been guilty in the past of going head down into projects and not focusing on whether there was need. And so what I've done now is a website, puzzly.org, which I'll put in the chat, where you can see the MVP for the activities for the first day, which is this video about 4 minutes, and an emotions cube for children to color, and then with the help of their parents to assemble, and then use to recognize their emotion. The big four of happy, scared, afraid, angry, and also shame and proud, which children often feel, and to gauge if there's interest in something like this. And so that's my main ask right now, is how in the next 10 days I can gauge if there's enough interest in a more scientific way, maybe setting goals, and how do I go about it without the need for my judgment or someone else's judgment, because that can be wrong.
So let's welcome innovative entrepreneur and mentor, Professor Martin, to talk more about what is the MVP in the prototyping process.
Thank you, Clarice. Hey team, my name is Michael Martin, and I am a professor, I am an investor, and I am also an entrepreneur. My professor duties are at 2 different universities. I'm here in Los Angeles, so I teach out here at California Lutheran University, and I teach 4 MBA level courses, but all within the entrepreneurship umbrella, okay? Innovative business models, agile product development, so on and so forth. I also teach over at MIT at the Office of Distance Learning, and I just teach a flat out entrepreneurship course there, and I partner with a couple of startups out there, most notably LaunchX, which teaches entrepreneurship to gifted high school students from around the world. It's work that I'm very proud of. And then finally, I am an entrepreneur as well. So I teach it and I also do it. I have created 2 companies in the past, and those companies have produced 4 or 5 products. Out of the 5, 4 were successful. The 5th one, I gave it away. But I'm not here to talk to you about the products that I created that I was successful in, because I think I can give you a better illustration of MVP by using companies that we are all familiar with to kind of set a baseline. And I apologize, I am not big on decks, so feel free to put your mouse over my picture there if you don't want to stare at that while I'm kind of talking to you guys. But anyway, so minimum viable product, or as we like to say, minimum viable business product, because you don't have a business if you don't have a customer. Let's be clear about that. But the minimum viable product is the smallest level of product functionality that a customer is willing to pay you for, or an end user is willing to use, right? And we focus on our MVP for several reasons, because we want to fail small. Entrepreneurs fail. We fail a lot of times, but we want to fail with the smallest vertical of customers, right? With the least amount of functionality. That gives us an opportunity to kind of go back into our workshops, fine tune, take input from our customers or from our end users, and then put out a better version of our product. And so the first example I would like to give you is Amazon, Jeff Bezos' company. I'm a huge fan of the company and of Bezos himself as an entrepreneur and as a computer scientist. And we all know that Amazon literally sells almost everything to almost everybody. And I say almost everybody because not everyone is Amazon's customer. For example, my mom. She is not an Amazon customer because she does not feel comfortable using her credit card for online purchases, number 1. Number 2, she likes to touch and feel products. And so Amazon is wise enough to know not to spend any money on trying to market my mom. That's not her customer. They don't even look at her to one day become a customer. But how did Amazon go from or come from selling thousands of different types of products from just one or a handful of initial products when they first launched the site? And I think we all know the story. Jeff Bezos, he's out in New York, he's an investment banker, and says, talking to his wife, I have a great idea. So he and the wife, they're driving out to Seattle. And as they're driving out to Seattle, he's thinking about the products to launch on his startup company website. And he comes down to 5 products: hardware, software, music, videos, and books. And I think we all know that he ultimately led with books, but the question is why? Why sell books? All 5 of those products had the potential to make money. Hardware, there was a market for that. Software, there's a market for that. Music and videos, there's a market for that. But why books? And so I wrote down a couple of notes. Reason number 1, there was a worldwide demand for literature. That's number 1. So there's the demand there for it. Number 2, it had a low unit price. As entrepreneurs, we like to keep our costs cheap because we're not making money right now. We try to keep our costs as cheap as possible. And then the third reason is that there was a huge volume of titles available. But that was Jeff Bezos' reasoning for that. But keep in mind the type of consumer persona that he's targeting, right? Not everybody is comfortable purchasing a book. If you're anything like me, at that time when Amazon launched, I go straight to the library first because I'd rather read it for free than have to pay Amazon. But you know, too many books as a student, you finally say, forget it, I'm going to have these books delivered to me, especially if they're going to offer a discount. What's also interesting about Amazon is not only did he limit himself to just one type of product, he limited to selling it to just one state, literally the state of Washington. Did not sell to California, did not sell to the East Coast, not at the time when he launched. And so he had great discipline to literally stick with that one product for his one consumer type. He later branched out to the rest of the country and the rest of the world and selling just that one book, or not the one book, but that one product, books. But it was many years before he introduced other products onto the website. And that takes a lot of discipline. And I think it paid off for him. He's running a $1 trillion company, and he very well may become a trillionaire later on in life. And so it's important to consider the customer that you're appealing to and the product that you're going to put before him. Keep in mind, the smallest level of functionality that someone is willing to buy from you or use your product. Enough about Amazon. The next company that I'll mention to you took a different approach in regards to their minimum viable product, and that's Elon Musk and Tesla. Again, I'm a fan of Tesla. I like Elon Musk a little bit. He made a stock dip. I'm not too happy about that as an investor, but at the end of the day, he is a pretty smart guy when it comes to creating products. We're all familiar with the Tesla, the Model S, the Model 3, the Model X. He's coming out with the Model Y. It spells sexy, which gives you insight into how his mind thinks. But his minimum viable product was the Tesla Roadster. This is a 2-seater car. And think about the persona that this car is for, right? When I look at the Model S, I see families in the Model S, or even the Model 3, or even the SUV that they have. But the Tesla Roadster was made specifically for guys. I hate to sound sexist, but it was, who were middle-aged and who more than likely did not have children, right? Very hard to find a mom of toddlers driving around in a sports car because, let's face it, women are just smarter than men. But the MVP was to prove that the battery can last for a long time and that you can travel long distances. That's all he really cared about, which is why now, today, the Tesla Roadster is the one vehicle that he sells the least of. But that's where he led. He led with the Tesla Roadster. He didn't consider income of people who were making less than maybe $500,000 a year, or probably even more than that. That was not his customer. So I was not his customer, right? He didn't consider anyone who had to carry golf clubs or groceries. Didn't care about those folks. He only wanted the folks who just wanted a drop top and didn't want to spend money on gas. That was the persona. That was the MVP. But that MVP led to the company that it is today. And so now he's able to sell us the S, the 3, the X, and upcoming the Y and that dump truck thing that he's making. So that's Tesla.
Sorry,
yes.
I have 1 minute to move on.
Oh, 1 more minute? Okay.
Yeah.
One more example of a company that actually did a pivot, and learned from its mistakes and decided to focus on an MVP. And that's a company called Bourbon. And the app was spelled B-U-R-B-N. And basically what this app did was it catered to people who drank different types of bourbons at restaurants. And it gave you a ton of links and a ton of different tabs, and you can post your drinks, and you can have this whole community talking about bourbon. And it really didn't work well. It got some traction, but not a lot. And so the creators of Bourbon went back to the workshop and refined the tool to focus on a minimum viable product. They looked at the features and said, hey, you know what? People are uploading pictures. That's what they're doing. And so they later rebranded Bourbon into Instagram, the Instagram that we know today. And that's an example of a company that launched, that failed, took it back to the workshop and said, you know what, we need to focus on what our consumer market is doing. They care about posting pictures, they care about posting videos, and so we're going to focus on that. I'm here for questions. I think I ran out of time, but hopefully I gave you a better idea of the importance of launching with the MVP. You don't have to stay there, but that's definitely where you want to start. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. And just to kind of summarize, I think that the MVP is like one product in the overall process of prototyping. So thanks for describing that and giving some great examples. So right now we're gonna separate out. Each two teams are gonna have their own breakout rooms. They're gonna talk to a mentor, and they're gonna talk to a few other people that are interested in either participating or providing some feedback to those teams. So Adriana is going to break that out, but in the main room, we're going to actually do an example on Balsamiq. So let me go into that. So our mentors for today are Mike Martin, who you just heard speak, and Tito Jankowski, who leads the COVID accelerator. Sorry guys, we're running a little out of time. So I'm not going to have you all kind of present a little bit about yourselves. Sorry about that, Tito. So MVP breakout roles, mentors, we're gonna have you ask and identify what question the MVP is trying to solve. So what's their hypothesis, and is the MVP answering that question? And then any other feedback you think will be important. As for participants in those breakout rooms, give specific feedback on what works and what needs to change as a user, if as close as you can be to being the potential user, or maybe even provide suggestions of places they can go to get even additional user feedback. In the main room, we're gonna go through Balsamiq, which is just like a prototyping tool. What it does is it allows for building a wireframe, and that just means it's a clickable visual framework for making an app or website. What we're going to do today is we're actually going to make the Instagram wireframe together. We just picked something that is pretty common, and you can just open up your phone and just so you can understand the tool Balsamiq, and you would understand how to use it for your later on for your own product if you are making a website or app. So this is one we made here, but I'm just going to stop here and let Adriana break out those teams. I just want to get some questions in the chat. Are you guys familiar with Balsamiq? Have you used it before?
I've seen wireframes made with Balsamiq. I haven't prepared them myself, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, no worries. We'll definitely just go through the basics. All right, I'm actually just going to show you what the example looks like, and then we can make it side by side. This is what it is. This is what it looks like here. After I just only made 2 wireframes, and then when you hit view. Let's say, or maybe it's, here it is. Give me one moment. Give me one moment here, guys. Maybe because I already have it open. There we go. So, so this is what it looks like, and I created a link. So you can see that when I hover over party time dancing, I'm gonna click it, and then it's gonna take me to the next web page. So you can see that here. Yeah, so that's kind of what it will help you test out, like going between different wireframes, like what it would look like to make it clickable. Do people generally You can ask people to do it. But, so what I'm gonna do now is if you guys can open up, go to Balsamiq, BALSAMIQ, and log in. We'll give you a few minutes to do that. All right, so you would, for example, you would drag smartphone under Android tools. And I'm gonna zoom in on this one here. So let's just say that I wanna make the Instagram one and I wanna copy it exactly as it looks here. I would type in icon, and I would grab an icon and I'd pull it in, double click, and you'll have all these different icons to work off of. So let's just go to camera is an example of one. So now I have this camera tool, or this camera icon. But what you can do is you're gonna get into a space that looks something like this when you log in, and you're just gonna hit new, and then you can create your own space. So let's just say you can call it the gram or something, you know. All right, so I'll grab another. So do you guys, I just looked at, they have like different categories. And so I selected the Android category only because that's the phone that I have, and I just want to model the Instagram app off of that. And so I grabbed an icon. So if there's like a quick search button right up here, so I type in icon again. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put it where I want it to be, and I'll double click, and then let's just say I want an arrow. So there's this little arrow button. Let's see what we got, what questions we have. So have you guys been able to enter into the main project, just a project room? It's going to be blank, completely blank when you walk in, when you come in, but you'll see all of these kind of categories above, and it will look something like this, but inside it will be empty. So let's just say I want text. So there's a category up here for text, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. Like, it doesn't have to be the Instagram text style. So I'm just going to say Instagram, boom. I'll move it here. And if you know how they have the little stories on when you first enter into the Instagram like application? So I'm going to grab a container, which basically is just something that it just sets the space differently. So I'm going to do that. I would want when I, let's just say, code it, I would want to have this code separate. I don't code. I'm more like the wireframing person, but I would assume that you would want to have something separate within this container from another. So I put out a container here, and I'm going to search, like, you know how everybody's telling their stories, right? You can click on their stories and it will open up. So I'm going to search like a circle to represent that.
No questions. The Balsamiq looks very cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. This is like a simple one, and then there's a bunch of other types like called Proto.io. There's a bunch of them that will look as if you actually coded up something, but it's not. It's just a visual like a visual framework.
Yeah, I second that. It looks pretty cool.
People use this for user testing a lot, where they'll make the visual thing and then ask questions about it.
Right.
Is there? It seems that your trial expires in 6 days. So does it mean that this is like a paid service?
It is, but we can get it for you guys for free. So if you do want it, contact us, because we already are talking to Balsamiq. So let us know, is this something that you do want? Well, we can get that for you guys. At least for a longer trial, maybe like a 3-month trial. That way you at least by that point would have gotten past the wireframing phase maybe. So I just grabbed some circles, and then let's just say I want to create another container here. So I'm going to grab that. And okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to create a link, because that will probably be another way for you guys to see. So let's just say that I'm going to take, let's just text, and I'm going to take link, So I'm gonna put party time dancing because that's what I came up with before. Or how about you guys tell me something else, maybe like Instalicious or something. You can have fun with it, you know? And then, so right now, what will happen is you might not see this bar here. It might be empty like this. You're gonna hit the info on the right-hand side up on top, and it'll be like no link, but then you can link it. Let's just say I'm gonna link it to wireframe copy number 1, which is actually what I called this one. I can just call it something else. So let's just call it wireframe 2. So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna link it to wireframe number 2, or I can link it to a web address. There's so many different ways, many different things you can link it to, but I wanna link it to another, as if it's acting like I'm gonna click on Instalicious's Instagram page. Let's see the questions. Oh, all right, bye John, thanks. So I'm gonna go on Instalicious. So let's just say I'm gonna hit, I have to exit out. So let's just say I wanna go to view. Where is it here? Oh, here we go, full screen presentation. So close settings, and then I can hit Instalicious 2 and it will take, or Instalicious and it will take me to wireframe number 2.
Definitely cool to see this all put together and like how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah. So like first, like draw it out. So I know you guys are looking to do like a app or website. Like draw it out. Don't go to this yet, right? So like draw out what you see, like what it would look like, where people would click, maybe where people would click, you would mark it with a sticky note, like a thin sticky note or something, and like have different images next to each other. That's a way. And then just get feedback off of that first. I think that's like a really good like start. And then before I even got actually to Balsamiq, you can make it on PDF. On PDF, if you like just do it through Paint or whatever, like boxes. You don't even have to have this like phone piece, but like just a box and like what it would look like generally. You can also do clickable actions on there. So that's like another way to do it. But Balsamiq is good as well. I like it as a good start. And it's easy, you just drag and drop stuff. But then after this, like you can go to Proto.io, which is like a really nice looking tool. So it would be I would say it's a long process before you get to like the physical, like actually coded up like product. And then when you do code it up, like for example, for your website, let's just say you want people to enter in what their needs are, and not even like you want to keep it anonymous. I would just have a website that you can you can have Wix, right? And it will just have like, a form or even a Google form. Fill out these information and we'll call you and talk to you. Like that's another type of prototype, you know? So like just the Google form with calling them and giving them what they need, it might be enough for you right now to like support healthcare workers before you even get to an app.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So yeah, and then maybe like you can, there's so many different ways to try it. Like this, I would say, is like once you're firm that this is a direct, like that you know that your users want an app or want something, then you can go in this direction. But if you just want to focus on the healthcare part right now, you can just do the Google form. And that will probably be, or like just a really nice looking website that is a drag and drop website like Wix, because you just throw in something and they fill in their information, it sends to you via email, and then you call them and you're like, hey, da 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 da, let me help you out. And it looks good, but you're doing all the effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's another way. Yeah. But yeah, we can talk more about that. But if you guys have questions, we can talk about different ways to like maybe come up with it. But this Balsamiq is just a fun like tool that I like. Let's see here. Yes, sure. We'll work with Balsamiq and get you guys some extended trials, or perhaps something for free for like a 6-month period. But they have done a 3-month period trial in the past, so I can definitely get that. So let's just say we want to add a picture. So let's just say image. So there's like you can have, there's so many different like ones. There's like an outlined one, you know, I'm gonna grab, let's just say I'll do this one. So you can grab this and say like, oh, this is it's a icon. So I'm not gonna use that actually. Image. Let me try the other one. So you just gotta play around with stuff. Let's see if I can expand this one. Oh, this one's also an icon. So I would use this then. And I'm gonna have it this width. By the way, everything on Balsamiq will be at the, so the sizing is like, it's like equivalent, it would be in either in some regard like equivalent to or like sized down equivalently, you know what I mean, to what it would be on your like actual phone. So it makes it easy for people to like know sizing and design and everything like that. So I'm gonna grab another icon. Let's see what time it is now. Oh, all right, it looks like we're out of time. Yeah, it looks like we're out of time. So if you guys want to talk more about Balsamiq, we can do that into the future, but I'm glad you guys stuck around and just got to play around with it for a little bit. So I know it's kind of running out of time, so we'll skip this part for now, but just next steps, every Monday and Friday, we have a coffee and COVID chat. We have our MVP workshops again on the 12th and the 19th, and then we'll have a pitch night as well in July. Thank you, everybody. Sorry we kind of ran out of time.
No worries, it was actually very good.
Thank you so much. This was so helpful.
Good, I'm glad. Reach out if you guys need anything.